Hello, we are going to start the lecture in seminar IPR course. So, in the first lecture, I will give an overview of intellectual property rights. So, this will be the objective and plan of my presentation. So, we will have a general introduction to the concept of intellectual property rights and their role in technology transfer. We'll see why we need a protection of IP, that is the rationale of protection, different kinds of IPR, IPR licensing and technology agreements, etc. Coming to the introduction, as we know, there are different types of properties which we come across with in our daily lives, which are movable properties like your car, pen, furniture, or any possession which you have right now with you, like mobile or laptop. So these are the movable properties. To buy or sell them, you need to have some financial transaction. There are immovable properties. Similar to movable properties, you have to have a financial transaction to buy them or sell them. Land or building. And the third one, which is not yet owned, is an intellectual property, which involves intellectual works such as literary works. If some artist has created any artwork, or any songwriter has written a song, or a player has a singer has sung a song, in terms of arts, and in terms of science, in involves in science and technology, it matters to the inventions, discoveries, designs of any instrument or medical devices, in particular to bioengineering aspects, or some idea which has any proof or a method. How intellectual property is different than your movable and immovable properties? In this way, it involves creation of a human mind. It is an intangible property, and similar to movable property and immovable property, it has got exclusive rights given by law. It has to be attended with limitations and expectations. Although you are claiming intellect as a property, and when you have laws to protect it, it has certain limitations and exceptions like any other property, whether it is movable or immovable. This particular properties also have certain limitations and expectations, and as in every movable property, immovable property has got an expiry date with respect to its life. It intellectual property has also got an expiry date. That means it is a time bond. And as you know, the laws related to your immovable or movable properties are basically related to the constitution of the nation in which those properties reside. So, if the immovable property is in England, the laws of England, laws of land are applied to that. So, if the immovable property is in England, the laws of England, as per the constitution of British government, it will be applicable. Similarly, if the immovable property is in India, Indian laws will apply. Similar to that, intellectual property, if it is taken in India, it applies to India. But while giving the rights of intellectual property, there is a provision which we can set territorial limits of their intellectual property. So, if there is any idea which is expressed in the form of patent or copyright, to which person or set of persons it can be distributed, and on which territory, under what conditions it can be distributed. So coming to the definition of IP, if you see this definition, it encompasses the all aspects of your intellectual property. So intellectual property includes all such types of literally artistic scientific works, all public performances of artists, scientific discoveries. In science and technology particularly, it includes industrial designs, trademark, service mark, commercial names and designation, etc. And also it provides protection against any unfair competition, and all other rights results from intellectual activity which should involve industrial, scientific, literary or artistic fields. So these are the international treaties which can be used while designing an intellectual property or making any intellectual work as a property. So under all these guidelines, all these rules and treaties, it can be covered. What is an intellectual property right? What happens when we get a patent or when we get a copyright? By creating a patent or a copyright, we are just establishing a contract between the content creator and the law of land or the land government. So when, let's say for example, I develop one design, and that design I need to include for a some medical device. I intend to use it some as a part of some medical device, and when I go for its protection of IP, so for design I'll register that design in the Indian Patents Journal. Then I am making a contract between me as a creator and the government of India for the following purposes. For the protection of revelation, it serves as a balance of rights between creator and public interest. So public is interested in your creation, whether it is a design or artwork. Public has its own rights of getting the content in their hands in whichever media or whichever ways of communication of content creation and distribution. And the creator has right should have a right to ways of distribution and content creation. So it serves as a balance in between these two. IP serves to design rights and limitations and expectations from the content created. So what are the major intellectual properties? Copyright and its related rights. This copyright is mainly industry related to artwork. In terms of science and technology fields, you have got industrial property, wherein you have got patents, you have got industrial designs, which can be claimed as industrial property rights. You can register for a trademark, which is an industrial property, intellectual property. You can have geographical indications, similar to your basmati rice, for which you have got a geographical indication. For example, mango, Alfonso mango, for which you have got a geographical indication. Layout designs or topographies of integrated circuits of electronics and related fields. You have got that becomes an industrial property, although it is created from intellect. Trade secrets, if big company is there, they want to have certain trade secret or the secret which they don't want to reveal to the competitors or to the open market, that can be protected under law under the name of trade secret. Agriculturists and plant biotechnologists can protect the new plant varieties. So all these are getting covered in intellectual property. Under which laws it gets covered? In India, it is covered in these all laws. Copyright Act covers all your artistic content, songs, poems, book articles, drawings, paintings, exhibitions, and all that. Patent Acts control all the patents, whether it is a process patent or product patent. The Design Acts controls all the designs or drawings of any instrument or any device or any integrated circuit which has to be kept protected as a intellectual property. Geographical Trademarks Act also covers all trade related products and processes, particularly product it covers. So you can have a trademark TM letters mentioned on the logo, which indicates that it has been protected by a Trademarks Act. So you can't copy the logo of the one which is a protected trademark. Geographical indications of goods. As per this act, you can claim that whatever product you are selling comes from the right geographical place. So if you are selling an Alfonso mango from Konkan area, you have got the geographical indication that if it is from Konkan, or in more particular, there is one variety of Alfonso mango which is Devgad Alfonso mango. It has got a geographical indication now as a Devgad Hapus or Devgad Alfonso mango. On the product, you can mention that if that product is certified by government under this act, so that authenticity of the product. This is generally done in case of agricultural products. For it gives a geographical indication to the good. You have got Semiconductor IC Design Layout Act, under which you can protect all your semiconductor designs. Protection of plant varieties and farmers, under which you can protect the plant varieties and farmers' rights, etc. What is the scope of copyright? Copyright protects original literary, dramatic, musical, and artistic work, and that has to be expressed in the material form. That's the only requirement. So if there is a song, if there is any idea, it has to be expressed in some kind of song or drawing or sketch or some content, some audio or some video. No copyright is given in ideas and facts, and that is basically the similarity between all, whether it is a copyright or a patent, simply because it sits in your mind. The idea is there in your mind. And you have some data, but it is not ever expressed. That cannot be copyrighted. Expression of idea and usage of fact is more important. That's what cinematograph films and sound recordings do. So they convey the idea of the director to the audience. Sound recordings, you can have sounds, you can have songs, you can have simple sound recordings of various specially required sound recordings. You can copyright that. There are two kinds of rights if we think which can be provided by intellectual property. Under IPR law, you get moral rights. IPR serves to protect the personality of the author. So, when you distribute or release any artwork or any design or any trademark, along with that, you are releasing the personality of the inventor or designer or content creator or artist with it. That serves the moral purpose of giving a credit to the person who is creating the content. So that gives the moral rights to the content creator that okay, my name is getting attached to something which is my intellectual property. Also, it gives an economic rights to the content creator about the way to distribute and to generate monetary benefits from the content which has been created. So that this particular slide applies to both scientific, technological, as well as artistic and humanities fields. So, what are the moral rights? Right of authorship. The person who has created the content should be acknowledged with the content when the content is released. Right of integrity. The author, the content creator can do himself or herself the digital manipulation whenever it is required or wherever it is required or like that, or he should have the rights whom to give the digital manipulation. Right of display, where to display, what to display, like. So these are the inalienable rights. In economic rights, the author can decide. There are two now. There now in here economic rights. There is a right of reproduction, which may reside to the original author or may not to reside to the original author, depending on the terms, conditions, and clauses put forth when the intellectual property has been protected. That involves distribution and issuing of free copies or making copies of editions of novels or books or like that. Digital distribution of content like movies or like that. And right of communication to the public. So it will be a public performance. If a recording of that public performance has been made, who will distribute it and who will get money out of it? And internet communication, nowadays OTT platforms are there. It also covers under this. So economic rights in all these respects have to be considered. Along with that, adaptation, so conversion into another form. So if there is any movie in one language but you want to convert it to another language, use the same storyline to that, so the original author has to be credited plus some monetary benefit has to be given to original author, and then transfer of rights happen. So literate intellectual property can be transferred from one person or one organization to another organization, which is called as adaptation rights. So abridgment is also there. Picturization, comic formats. So if there is a story or there is movie, somebody is converting it to a comic book, then in that case transfer of like, so right to make a cinematograph film or sound recording or creation of an audio book from a normal hardbound book. Translation rights, so translating one movie into another language or one book from another language, that also involves. In terms of science and technology, if you want to ask, it involves about adaptation in between uh, content creation or cinematograph film or documentaries or sound recordings or anything from printed material or literature survey that can involve economic rights available to the author. Ownership of rights. So there are rights, there morality related obligations, there are economic related obligations, and now there are ownership related obligations which need to be looked at. So right will be there, but it may happen that ownership with the right will be to a different guy. Economic uh, rights to distribute the content and to generate money out of the content can be with another person or another company, but the moral right will technically remain with the original content creator or the author of the company. So generally ownership of these rights generally literally resides with the author, drama with dramatist, music with the composer, artistic work artist, photographer. So these basically are talking about moral rights, morality basis पे. But when you go and over to the film and sound recording, you will notice that the producer which provides the money will have the rights of cinematograph, film and sound recording. So in that case, scenario is a little bit different. The producer will own the rights, but producer also makes sure that some monetary benefit is given to the original content creators or the contributors to the content creators. So producer will pay to the actors who have acted in the film. Producer will pay to the story writer or script writer who has written the script. Producer will pay his all technical team who is engaged in shooting, who is engaged in backstage works, who is engaged in editing of the film and video recordings. He will also pay the technical people who are behind the technical aspects of the cinematography. But the right of ownership goes to the producer. What are the exceptions? In the course of employment, the rights are vested with the employer. To note this one particularly in terms of bioengineering, suppose there is a scenario that you or some of your faculty develop some patent or over an idea or a product or a process. All exclusive rights are not given to the patent to the that person, because that person is employed by a certain organization. In that case of employment, if that using the resources which are available at the employment, if a idea or process needs to be intellectually protected, then the rights of that intellectual property resides with the employer. That means in our case it will reside with the MIT University if such that case happens. Employment may be newspaper, magazine. So if you are giving any article to a magazine or newspaper for publishing, that will be the employer. Photograph, painting, cinema for valuable consideration. The person who pays money for all these things has the owner of rights. Again, there are certain exceptions. Work to apprentice to the teacher. So if there is some assistance is involved and that assistance has created some intellect, then the rights go to the main person who has seeked attention. So, for example, if a teacher writes a book, then teacher is the owner of the right, but his apprentice writes a book using the resources provided by teacher, then the owner of right will go to the teacher. Question papers, rights of question papers go to the paper setter of examination. That may not be necessarily involving the teacher who taught the subject. In case of encyclopedia or dictionary, or in our case, books, scientific books, owner of the right becomes, editor becomes the owner of the rights, not individual contributor to that dictionary, encyclopedia or book. As we have seen for music and films, mostly it is a film producer which is the owner of right, unless otherwise, as an exception, somebody mentions it. Why to secure copyright? Why people go for copywriting their songs or their movies or their short clips or whatever the content these are clicking? It is a free protection in, okay, this is a procedure to secure the copyright. It is a formality for getting a copyright. It's nothing so much detailed about it. In copyright, you should register your artwork, whether it is a drawing or song or artist, by submitting a copy to the government. Copyright is and registration doesn't matter. As a matter of law, establish what is registered is in fact and is law copyrightable subject matter. So the registration is voluntary, but after registration of a work, then you can move to copyright, or without registration also you can move to the copyright. What is the duration of copyright? For all musical and artistic works which are published during the lifetime of an author, life plus 60 years is the duration of copyright. All other works 60 years from the date of publication. So to give you an example, so let's take an example where Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam has written a book of Wings of Fire. So it constitutes his literary work. If he himself published that book without any editor or without any publishing house, he will get the monetary benefit out of it. Otherwise, as per, if he has gone to any publisher, then if that publishing house is publishing his book, then that particular publishing house will decide how much monetary benefit to be sent to the original author. But the life of that copyright work remains life of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam plus 60 years after the life ends. For all other works, 60 years from the date of publication is the general duration of copyright. That includes all your posthumous anonymous works and works of government and organizations, their reports and their documents. They don't have a single person for which that copyright can be assigned. Cinema and sound recording, generally, if they involve lot of multiple people, then 60 years from the date of publication. So when that cinema was published or released, from that date, 60 years is the lifetime of that copyright. Related rights are the rights granted by the law to the communicators of work to the public. These are the related rights. So given to performers, that includes performers, broadcasting organizations, and for performers, right? Performer has the right to record, broadcast, and communicate his performance to the public of a live performance himself, or performer may transfer his performer's right to a producer of a film if he is contributing his performance towards generation of a motion picture or film. The performer's rights have a duration of 50 years in this both cases. Broadcaster, which rights broadcasting organizations have? They have the broadcast reproduction right to rebroadcast, which is already live broadcasted, recording and communicating to the public of broadcast. So to have an example, Star channel has taken broadcast rights for broadcasting, recording and broadcasting of cricket matches in India. So they have the broadcasting rights of the live matches which are going in India or abroad. Also, they have the recordings of those live matches afterwards, which can be used for rebroadcasting in terms of highlights or later on after some years, and then communicating to the public. For this, the standard duration is 25 years. When you hear this word duration, that means the exclusive right of that particular broadcasting organization is over. That means after 25 years, unless it is claimed again otherwise, after 25 years, anybody can broadcast and use it. Coming to the most important area, which is a patent, which is an exclusive right granted for the invention. It can be a product or process that provides a new way of doing something. So this line is most important and offers a new technical solution to a problem. So it can be a design, industrial design, or a drawing, or a product, or a process of generating one product. The product may be new, but the product may be old, but the process can be new, which may provide a new way of doing something or overpasses a barrier, technical barrier, and thus provides a solution to the existing problem. Patent comes under limited monopoly right, which is granted by the state, which enables an inventor to prohibit another person from manufacturing, using, or selling the patented product, or from using patented process without permission. So if another person or another organization is using a process which is optimized and protected, or a patented process by some different organization, without permission it cannot be done. So the another organization which is using a patented process or patented product must have a permission of the original organization which has taken a patent over the protected content, whether it is a product or process. And for that the validity is 20 years. And that's why after 20 years you can use a product or process which was earlier protected by patent without any permission. That's what happens in some our bioengineering related industries or some certain scenarios. The product or a drug is patent protected for 20 years, to seek permission and to take it, it's a big task, and most of the times the company which has created the process or product will not give the permission to manufacture it to some other individuals, because company is also interested in getting profit by selling that product, but that has a duration of 20 years. So after 20 years, anybody can, unless it is protected otherwise again, anybody can uh, take the process, take the drug and manufacture it and sell it without asking the original company. What can be patented? Inventions in related to technology, related to products and process can be patented provided they fall under these criteria. So these are the important criteria of patenting: novelty, non-obviousness, industrial application. So what do you mean by non-obviousness? Is the process or the product which is going to be patented should be have a certain inventive step in it which is completely new, and it should not be thought of any common man which is related to that process. It should not be obvious to anyone within that field that this process can be done in this way to get a more yield. If that thing is obvious, that inventive step is very, very obvious, then that cannot be patented. We'll see further some examples, then we will realize. What are the conditions of patentability? Novelty. Invention should not be known to the public. It has to be novel. It should have an inventive step. It should not be an obvious to a person with ordinary skill in of the art. And invention can be made or useful in any useful practical activity as distinct from intellectual or aesthetic one. So it should have an industrial application. Patents are granted by national patent offices in everywhere and also in India after publication and substantial examination of patent of application. So what is the procedure here is some not straightforward similar to copyright. Here the patent application has to be submitted to patent office by an inventor. After initial scrutiny, it is getting published in the patent journal. As a pre-grant or post-grant. So when it is published, that patent can be offended by others. So in publication of a patent, generally a short, very, very short title of the invention is there, followed by a claims. What is under the what claims are made to protect that invention. People can read those claims and say that, oh, this is not an innovative step, this is the state of art, or this is nothing new in it, it lacks novelty, or like that, and they can oppose and challenge the submitted applications. And patent have their territorial limits under which they under which nation they have granted. So in case of India, they have territorial limit of Indian political maps. foreigners can apply also for, in case of India, foreigners can also apply for Indian patents, but their territorial limit will be still in India. For international patents, patents are generally given by international patent offices having varied territorial limits. Certain countries like US FDA or US Patent Office can have multiple territories, and across all globe the patent can be kept as a territory. What is not patentable? An invention which is frivolous or claims anything obviously contrary to the well established natural laws is not patentable. So you can't patent a machine which gives more than 100% performance. You cannot patent a machine which defies Newton's law of gravitation or like that. Such extraordinary claims are not patentable. A machine whose primary or intended use could be contrary to public order or morality, or which cause serious prejudice to human, threat to life, cannot be patented. We can't patent gambling machines. You can't patent a device for house breaking, theft, or like that. In case of bioengineering, nobody can protect biological warfare material, bioweapons, or biodevices. We can't patent Terminator gene technology, gene silencing, or like that, or if the intended use is contrary to public order or morality. Embryonic stem cells also, we can't protect it under the IP because it may involve creation of clones, which is not ethical, not set in ethical or moral standards. But there are bylaws and like that which need to be seen and which need to be employed while protecting under special conditions. If you want to protect stem cells, embryonic stem cells, if they can be patentable or not, that can be decided. Mere discovery of scientific principle is not patentable. Formulation of abstract theory is not patentable. So Einstein's theory of relativity is not patentable. Discovery of scientific principle is not patentable. So ISRO cannot patent that we discovered water on the moon. So it is not covered as a patent, or a discovery of any living thing or non-living substance occurring in nature is patentable. Similarly, NASA cannot patent that, okay, this is the stone which we got from Apollo mission from the moon, and thus it becomes our intellectual property. So it can be an immovable property, but it is not an intellectual property, hence cannot be patentable. Why? Because discovery adds to human knowledge by disclosing something not seen before, whereas invention adds to human knowledge by suggesting action resulting in new product or new processes. So invention is patentable, discovery or observation or formulation of an abstract theory is not patentable. That's what I was told. Archimedes' principle, superconducting phenomena are not patentable. However, if there is any apparatus or method or model or device for technological applications of all these may be patentable. So time machine can be patentable, but not Einstein theory of relativity, which is not patentable. Mere discovery of new form of known substance or any substance which is not known to enhance a known efficiency of a substance, or a mere discovery of any new property or new use of known substance is not patentable. Known process or machine, a new use is not patentable unless such a known process results in new product or employs at least one new reactant. What is not patentable? By mixing two, three things together, a substance is created, then it is not patentable. Or if you are mixing paracetamol with ibuprofen, a drug which is combination of the one drug antipyretic, one analgesic, is not patentable. Soft drink that only has a mixture of sugar and some colorants is not patentable. But a mixture resulting in synergistic properties can be patentable, like soap or detergent or lubricant is patentable. Similar to that, face wash and cosmetics. Some cosmetics, if they involve synergistic properties enhancement, that can be patentable. Rearrangement, arrangement, or duplication of known devices in a known way is not patentable. A bucket fitted with torch or cap fitted with fan is not patentable. Just a combination of two devices, clock and radio in a single cabinet. Flour milk, if you are adding sieve, is not patentable. Method of agriculture or horticulture is not patentable because it is used for agricultural equipments are patentable, but not methods like weeding, de-weeding, etc. like that. Plants and animal in whole or any part is not patentable. So you can't patent any animal or plant as a whole other than microorganisms, including seeds, varieties, and species. Biological processes of production of propagation of plants like clones, new varieties are not patentable. Process of production of plants, if it consists entirely of natural phenomena like crossing or selection, it is not patentable. But if any engineering aspect is involved in generation of new varieties, it may be patentable if that particular variety has certain new thing as a product or as a process. Mathematical method, formula, business method, algorithms are not protected, per se are not protected, because these are the process outcomes of mental processes only and do not involve industrial processes or product. It may be an intellectual property, but it is not a patent. They can go for copyright, computer program or like that. Any literary, dramatic, musical, artistic work we have seen, it has to be subject to copyright protection, not patentable. So hence they automatically become non-patentable. A mere scheme or rule or method for performing a mental act or method of playing a game is not patentable still. It can be copyrighted. Scheme for learning a language, a method of solving a crossword puzzle, no, it cannot be patentable. It can be copyrighted. Novel apparatus for playing game. If there is any apparatus involved for playing game or there is some new instrument is involved to carry out a stream, it can be patentable. Method is not patentable. Presentation of information is non-patentable. Any manner of method of expressing is not patentable. Visual display, symbols, graphs, topography of integrated circuits, everything is not patentable. Traditional knowledge or an aggregation of duplicates of known properties is not patentable. Traditional knowledge which is already in public domain is not patentable, but However, if you are doing any value addition to that traditional knowledge leading to a new process or product, if it possesses both novelty, inventive step, and industrial applicability, then that can be patentable. Inventions related to atomic energy are not patentable because they are can be used as weapons, and on moral rights they are extremely dangerous. So here we will stop, and in the next lecture we will continue.